All right, all right, all right. This is not ESPN's 30 for 30. However, it is my 98 for 98. The 98 seasons in the history of the New York Football Giants. Going to try to get it done in 98 days. Probably not going to happen, but I will get it done before the beginning of the new season, which starts September 10th against those Dallas Cowboys. So we're uh, in the second and final, thankfully, season of the Ray Handley era, the 1992 season, which just happened to be the 68th season in history of the New York Giants. 68th season in history of the Giants. 73rd season in the history of the NFL. The Giants started in 1925. NFL started in 1920. So the Giants are 5 years younger, right, than the NFL is. So Ray Handley took over in 1991 after the departure, the retirement. One of the 312 retirements that Bill Parcells wound up having. Ray Handley was here from 1991 and 1992. Now, 91, we finished 8-8. So that was a disappointment, to say the least. After the Giants in the previous season had won the they finished 13-3 and won the Super Bowl. So to finish 8-8, not have a winning season, and not make the playoffs either was a disappointment. So the record got even worse in 1992. But to be fair, injuries. I mean, just the common theme with the Giants over the past 10 years or something. The I word. Probably, I guess, to the two biggest, the things that just back then, they would just pretty much just kill a season. One was Lawrence Taylor, and the other was the quarterbacks. All 312 of them all got injured. So, there weren't 312, but we'll go over the injuries. So I mean, so to be fair, they started off 5-4, I believe it was. So a little bit of hope there, but after that, things. As a matter of fact, I think after Lawrence Taylor got hurt, I think it said they only won one more time. And that was against the Kansas City Chiefs in like the second to last game or whatever it was. Just a little tidbit for you. We beat the Chiefs in New Jersey. The Chiefs have never beaten the Giants. Actually, they never even played the Giants in New York. But the Chiefs have never beaten the Giants in New Jersey. So I mean, it just the injuries. Injuries were just it was just not very good. Not very good. So I mean, he got he got canned after the season was over with, and we brought in Dan Reeves. So I mean, things were kind of hopefully going to be looking up for the Giants when they got Dan Reeves. But we also have to be fair too. Dan Reeves had a lot of success with the Broncos. However, he had one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of professional football, and the Giants did not have that. But more on that. That's next year. That's tomorrow night. But tonight, let's talk about the 1992 Giants. Their preseason, they finished 2-2. Their first preseason game was Sunday, August 9th against the Cincinnati Bengals at Giant Stadium. They would win 13-7. Their second preseason game was Saturday, August 15th against the Cleveland Browns. They would win 16-7. All right, here we go. Then, of course, the third was the annual New York Jet rivalry, game on August 22nd against the Jets. And the Giants would wind up. The Giants were the away team. The Giants would lose 20-14. So now the Giants are 2-1, and then they would lose their fourth game to fall to 2-2 on Saturday, August 29th against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Three River Stadium. The Giants would lose 24-3. So the Giants, which was Bill Cowher's first season, I believe it was, because I think it said Chuck Noll retired after 91. So Bill Cowher took over in 1992. So that was the first time the Giants and Steelers faced off against one another, with Bill Cowher being the coach. So the Giants finished off 2-2 in their the preseason. Let's go to their draft. Now, oddly enough, The Giants wind up in a way they wind up with 2 first-round picks, and unfortunately, neither one wound up panning out to be a first-round pick. Let's see, where did they wind up picking here? They wound up picking 14th. Now, this pick, the one that they actually had, their own. I'll go over the other first-round pick in just a couple minutes here, but this pick here, I mean, and then all right. Well, there's this pick, and then I'm going to go over the pick in their 3rd-round pick. So, but this pick here, they took Derek Brown. This is probably one of the absolute worst first-round picks they ever. This is the portion of the program with George Young where his first-round selections just stunk. From 91 to 96, he had he picked Tyrone Wheatley, who wound up having a nice career. The problem was Tyrone Wheatley's career with the Giants was only like 3 or 4 seasons. He wound up playing like an additional 6 or 7 seasons with the Raiders. He had 1,000 yards rushing season with the Raiders. The season after he got rid of the Giants, he left the Giants. He had 939 yards or whatever rushing. The following season, he had over 1,000 yards. So it's a shame because they had him and they had Tiki Barber. They had 2 good running backs. But anyway, this was a portion of the program I said from 1991 to 96, the first-round selections, and including this other first-round selection, which I'm going to go over in just a tad. Well, it just started showing that I don't know George Young. I don't know his age. I have no idea. But this pick here, they wound up taking Derek Brown, a tight end from Notre Dame. I mean, if I said the word trash, I mean, I guess this couldn't be the worst pick because I guess Joe Don Looney, their first round selection in 1964 was the worst because he didn't even make it to training camp. He lasted 28 days for the Giants, and they wound up trading him away because he wouldn't listen to anything. He wouldn't come to, I mean, I don't know, he missed the meetings or he would come to meetings late. The Giants had like a dress code and he just wouldn't follow the dress code. He just wouldn't listen to nothing. So the Giants, after I think 28 days, traded Joe Don Looney away, their 1964 pick. So this Derek Brown, this would be obviously for me in the top 5 though. Okay. He played 3 seasons with the Giants and you draft the tight end first in the first round and he had 11 catches in 3 years. He didn't have a touchdown. And a matter of fact, in his 3rd season, 1994, he played 13 games. He didn't even have a catch. I don't care if honestly, I don't even know if he was a good blocker or not. Just to be honest, I don't want to say yes or no. Okay. But I don't care, if you draft a tight end in the first round and he's a great blocker, I don't care. This guy better be able to catch some balls. He caught 11 passes for the Giants. In his whole career, he was a first-round selection. He played 1, 2, 3, 4. He played 7 seasons. He caught 43 passes in 7 seasons. He had 1 NFL touchdown. 1 NFL, and that was with Tom Coughlin. Matter of fact, 1996 with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Right. So go figure that, huh? So I mean, it's absolute total trash. This first-round selection, Derek Brown. All right, so then let's see here. The Giants' next pick in the 2nd round. So then they started sprinkling in some good selections here. Unfortunately, it was such a shame that their first-round pick was just such garbage. I said I really didn't want to looking so much over who they missed and all, but. Their 2nd round selection was Philippi Sparks. Okay, so I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he had not too bad. He played from 1992 to 2000. He played, let's see here, 9 seasons, All of them. In 2000, it's a shame because in 2000 he went with the Cowboys. It's a shame because in 2000 the Giants went to the Super Bowl. But I mean, he had a decent career. He played in 83 games for the Giants. He started in 22 of them. You know, what are we talking interceptions? I mean, I'll tell you. I mean, yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you the time differential. I mean, he wound up with 22 career interceptions for the Giants, which in 8 seasons ain't too bad, especially nowadays. I mean, our whole team's getting like what 5 or 6 for the whole season. So I mean, he had 22. So that's not too bad. You certainly can't. All right, the third round selection wound up being, which is I'm going over. I don't have words for this stuff. They took a tight end in the first round. So what would you take in the third round? Another tight end. I don't know why. They wound up taking Aaron Pierce, a tight end from Washington. Now, he wound up having a nice career. He played 7 seasons in the NFL. Okay. All of them, but the last one in 1999, he played with Baltimore. But all the others from 92 to 97, he played with the Giants. So, nice 7-year career. Okay. He wound up catching 86 passes for the Giants in 6 seasons. Right. But I mean, I don't know why you take 2 tight ends in the first 3 rounds. That makes no idea. I mean, if you take a tight end in the first round, that guy should cure all of your tight end problems. You shouldn't have to take another tight end in the third round. So once again, I don't understand. So, but then in the fourth round, it was hammer time. Keith Hamilton, absolutely phenomenal pick for the New York Giants. He came out of Pittsburgh. He played 12 seasons, defensive tackle. I mean, we got him in 92, 1993. We got Michael Strahan. So, right. His whole career was with the New York Giants. I mean, just a very, very good pick. He wound up with 63 sacks. 2000, he wound up with 10 sacks. 1993, his first season with Michael Strahan, he had 11 and a half sacks. So just a very, very good pick, right? I mean, as I said, they had some nice picks after the first round. Just the first round selection was just such a dud. The fifth round, they wound up taking Michael Wright, was a defensive back from Washington State. He never made it. All right. The sixth round, they took, which wound up being a decent pick, was Stacy Dillard, a nose tackle from Oklahoma. Now, he only played 4 seasons in the NFL. All right. I believe they were all with the Giants, right? Yeah, they were all with the Giants. He started in 19 games. 1993, he started every game. Played 16, started in all 16. But just a solid pick. I mean, especially for the round that he got drafted in. You can't. Being drafted in the 6th round. Solid pick. Solid pick in the 6th round. Okay. Then they took in the 7th round. They took Corey Widmer, a linebacker from Montana State. He played 8 seasons in the NFL. So, I mean, as I said, it was a shame the first round selection was just such trash. Had a lot of good other picks afterwards, right? 1990, Corey Widmer played from 92 to 99. All of them were with the Giants. He started in 64 games for the Giants, played in 114 games. And, I mean, very, very, it looked like 1996, he actually had 103 combined tackles. I mean, just solid, very, very, very solid. We're not talking Hall of Famer, all pro here or nothing, but just a solid, especially in the 7th round. Then it almost kind of gets a little bit better. The 8th round, they took, now what's you got to remember? 8th round selection, they took Kent Graham, a quarterback, from Ohio State. Now, he wound up starting some games for the Giants. He was a backup for a while. Actually, looks like he maybe he missed this season, but he played from 1992 to 2001. He played from 92 to 99, all with the Giants. Oh, no, I'm sorry, my bad. He played 3 seasons with the Giants and 2 with the Cardinals, and he went back to the Giants for 98, 99. Right? So, I mean, he was a decent quarterback. I mean, he was a backup, basically. But, I mean, if he was backing up Phil Simms or something like that, with the Giants, in his 5 years, his quarterback record, he started in 19 games. He was 10-9. He actually had a winning record with the New York Giants. Completed 52% of his passes with the Giants. He threw 20 touchdowns, 20 interceptions. He was the backup, okay? But in the 8th round, to get a decent backup like that, good pick. Well, why? Also because at the time, the Giants still had Jeff Hostetler, 92, and they still had Phil Simms. So, I mean, if you drafted this guy and he's going to be your 3rd quarterback, great pick. Very, very good pick, right? I mean, is he going to lead you to a Super Bowl? No. But, I mean, a record of 10-9, if he comes off the bench, can he win for you? Yeah, absolutely. So, and as I said, 8th round selection, very good pick. Then they took Anthony Pryor in the 9th round, a defensive back from Washington State. That's the second guy from Washington State. Actually, it's weird. They took Michael Wright, a defensive back from Washington State, in the 5th round. Then the 9th round, they took Anthony Pryor, a defensive back from Washington State. Anthony Pryor, 1993, played from 1993 to 1998. So once again, we're talking like a 9th round selection, playing 6 seasons in the NFL. Unfortunately, none of them wound up being with the Giants. His first season, he was in 1993. It was with the Jets, so he never even made it with the Giants. But once again, I mean, where they drafted him in the 9th round, and he still played 6 seasons in the NFL. All right, then they took round 10. They took George Rooks, a defensive tackle from Syracuse. He never made it. All right, in the NFL. Then rounds 11 and 12. Round 11, Nate Singleton, a wide receiver from Grambling State. He played 5 seasons in the NFL. I don't really remember him with the Giants, but nope, because he never played with the Giants. He played with the 49ers. Actually, so the Giants drafted him in 92. His first year playing was 1993. He played from 93 to 96 with the 49ers and wound up being good for him because in 1994, the 49ers won the Super Bowl. And then he finished off his career with the Baltimore Ravens in 1997. So I mean, draft a guy in the 11th round, and he winds up as a wide receiver, winds up playing 5 seasons in the NFL. Not too bad. And he got himself a Super Bowl ring. Good for him. Congratulations. And then in round 12, Charles Swan. Unfortunately, not Lynn Swan, but the Giants drafted Charles Swan. He was a wide receiver from Indiana State. Okay, now he only played 1 season in the NFL. And let's see here. That was with Denver in 1994. Okay, so Giants drafted him in 92. He wound up playing 1 season. And it looks like he was basically pretty much a special teamer. He had, what do we got? He had 1 kickoff return for 16 yards. So he played in 13 games. He didn't start any. So, but I mean, once again, he was a 12th rounder. But I mean, all in all, not too bad of a draft. Okay. Especially the later round picks. Now, the thing is where the Giants wind up actually getting 2 first-round picks, all right, was in the 1992 supplemental draft. They dished in their first-round pick card from the 1993 season for Dave Brown from Duke. So they had kind of like inklings in their eyes of Dave Brown becoming the starting quarterback for years to come. And no, it was not meant to be. Once again, actually, I'll tell you what, Dave Brown actually wind up playing from 92 to 2001. He finished up his career with the Cardinals in 2001. So actually, he wound up playing. I mean, if you look where we got, Kent Graham played 9. See, the Giants drafted 2 quarterbacks. Pretty much they were just backup quarterbacks. But Dave Brown played 10 seasons, 92 to 2001, and Kent Graham played 9 seasons. So, I mean, so they drafted 2 decent backup quarterbacks, right? But the problem is that they drafted Dave Brown in the first round. And when you throw, because he was supposed to actually come out in the 1993 draft, or actually he was supposed to be going back to school, I believe it was, and he was going to come out in 1993. But he wound up coming out in 1992. So the Giants they gave up their first round selection in 1993 to get him. So in 1993, the Giants don't have a first round pick because they gave it up to get Dave Brown. And Dave Brown was on their team in 1992. So, I mean, the Giants in 1992 had Jeff Hostetler, Phil Simms, Kent Graham, and Dave Brown all play games for him, right? Which once again shows you the problem that they were going to have going forward. It's tough to win with one or two quarterbacks, much less having four quarterbacks in there. All right. And especially two of the quarterbacks are rookie quarterbacks. So and unfortunately, that's when the Giants was at the end of the season when the Giants needed to win games to get into the playoffs. And they got rookie quarterbacks in there, and it wasn't pretty. So, and I'll go over some of their yardage totals and all of that as we go along here. But so the Giants wound up getting Dave Brown. They dished in their first round selection from the 1993 draft, and they got Dave Brown in 1992. So, but I mean, their two first round selections, which one wound up being Dave Brown and Derek Brown. Dave Brown and Derek Brown, the Browns, right? First round selections, bad. Okay. I mean, you should have got major bang for your buck with these first round selections, and nothing can be further from the truth. I mean, they just, bad picks. All right. So let's read, what does Wikipedia have to say about the 1992 football Giants? And they're going to talk quite a bit about the injuries, right? So the 1992 New York Giants season was the franchise's 68th season in the history of the National Football League. The Giants finished in fourth place in the National Football East Division with a 6-10 record. Head coach Ray Handley was fired after the season when the Giants finished 1-6 after starting 5-4. So they actually have 5-4. But I'm saying, I mean, after that, basically 5-4, and that's when Lawrence Taylor got injured, and that's when I think Hostetler was injured by then, and Phil Simms was injured, so that you have a rookie quarterbacks in there, and just, it is what it is. I mean, Vince Lombardi, I mean, if you got horrible players in there, even he'd have a hard time winning some of these games with some of these guys that they had in there. But it says here in Wikipedia, injuries marred the Giants' season, especially at quarterback. Phil Simms, once again, the team's starting quarterback, suffered a season-ending elbow injury in Week 4. With Simms out, the team once again turned to Jeff Hostetler. Right? Makes sense to me. The Giants' original 1991 starter and winner of Super Bowl 25 to take Phil Simms' place. Hostetler, who had his own troubles with injuries, including a broken back that ended his 1991 season, soon found himself out of the lineup after suffering a concussion in Week 12. So basically, the Giants finished the last, 4 games or 5 games or so with rookie quarterbacks. After the concussion, the Giants were then forced to turn to a pair of rookies, Kent Graham and Dave Brown. But Graham suffered from elbow and shoulder problems, and Brown suffered from a broken right thumb. So they had 4 quarterbacks. Every one had injury problems. Hostetler returned for the final 2 games of the season. One was a win over the Kansas City Chiefs, which was at home. Once again, I said the Chiefs had never beaten it. The Chiefs had never played the Giants in New York. The Chiefs have only played the Giants in Kansas City and in New Jersey. And the Chiefs had never beaten the Giants in New Jersey. And then, of course, Hostetler returned for the final 2 games to beat the Chiefs and to lose to the Eagles. Now, once again, this is where the Giants. Well, actually, in 1992, the Cowboys won the Super Bowl. So this is the Giants starting to have a hard time beating the Cowboys. And for the longest while, they also had a hard time beating the Philadelphia Eagles too. The Eagles would beat them twice again in the regular season. Perhaps, but unfortunately, here, it says here. Perhaps the most catastrophic injury was the torn Achilles tendon suffered by future Hall of Famer linebacker Lawrence Taylor in Week 10. Now, let me look at this here. I think it was against the Packers. Week 10. Yeah, the Packers. The Giants won, but Let me see here. So that was against the Packers. I know he was coming in. I know he was rushing on coming off the edge, and that was Brett Favre's first season. Brett Favre was 27 out of 44 for 279 yards, but he threw 3 interceptions. So that was Brett Favre's first season with the Giants. With the Packers. So the Giants, first time they ever played Brett Favre. As the starting quarterback for the Packers, they beat him. But Lawrence Taylor was coming rushing off the edge, and he blew out his Achilles. Something he did hundreds, if not thousands of times, rushing in off the edge, and he pops his Achilles. So, all right. Let's see here. As the Giants after Lawrence Taylor got injured, after the game, because they beat the Packers, but after they beat the Packers, it says the Giants only won once more after his injury, which was the game against the Kansas City Chiefs. It was the second consecutive year that an injury to Taylor ended his season prematurely. A sprained knee in Week 13 of the 1991 season forced Taylor to miss the final game of the regular season and a previous game against the Cincinnati Bengals. So, it was a shame. What's up, Teddy? Ed McCaffrey's son is not MVP, just saying. Jeremy Shockey was good. Carried the Saints too. Gotta love Jeremy Shockey. Gotta love him. Absolutely gotta love him. All right, so so let's go to the Giants. Let's go over there. The problems were, of course, a lot of it was passing, and of course they didn't have phenomenal wide receiver play either. But if you look here, let's see, Kent Graham started 3 games for the Giants. He was 0-3. Phil Simms started 4 games. He was 1-3. Jeff Hostetler came in, and Jeff Hostetler did good. He was 5-4. Dave Brown played in 2 games but didn't start any. But the Giants as a team only threw 14 touchdown passes all season long. Played 16 games, threw 14 touchdown passes. That's not going to win you anything. They only threw 10 interceptions, which is fantastic. But as I said, once again, they only threw 14 interceptions. I only had 14 touchdown passes. Nothing super spectacular. They actually only averaged. Well, see, Phil Simms in his 4 games, he had 228 yards a game passing the ball. At the end of the season, the Giants only averaged 164 yards a game passing the ball. So you can imagine, how low, their passing yardage must have been with Hostetler in there and Graham and Brown. Their passing game was nothing spectacular at all. Now the thing, once again, they did not have super spectacular wide receivers. They had Chris Callaway, but he only had 27 catches. Mark Ingram, he had 27 catches. Stephen Baker, the touchdown maker, he had 17 catches. The leader on the team was Ed McCaffrey, right? He played in all 16 games, but he only started in 3 of them. So somehow, he wasn't a starter. He played in 16 games, and somehow he led the team with 49 receptions. Basically, he had twice as many receptions as the next wide receiver, and they didn't have him starting in the games. He only started in 3 games. Didn't make much sense to me, and he by far the leader in touchdown receptions. He caught 5 touchdown receptions out of their 14 touchdown passes. He caught a third of their touchdown passes, and still they didn't have him starting in any games, or hardly any games. Just, I don't know. That's what it is. So the quarterback play was they were injured. As I said, Ed McCaffrey, Callaway, Howard Cross, Mark Ingram, Stephen Baker, Derek Brown, the rookie. None of these guys are going to scare anybody. Nobody. Then they had some guy, Joey Smith, a wide receiver too, who caught 3 passes for him. I don't even remember that guy. But their offense was just not going to scare anybody. Now their rushing wasn't too bad. They averaged 4.5 yards a carry. They had averaged almost 130 yards a game rushing. They had 20 rushing touchdowns, so their running carried them for the most part. Let's see. Rodney Hampton, one of his many 1,000-yard seasons, he had 1,141 rushing yards. He had 14 touchdowns. He averaged 4.4 yards a carry. Jared Bunch, our 1991 first-round selection. We took a fullback in the first round, but he had 501 rushing yards. He had averaged 4.8 yards a carry. Then, of course, we had Dave Meggett. He had 167 yards. Otis Anderson, I believe this was his final season. He had 31 yards. He ran the ball 10 times for 31 yards. Lewis Tillman, he ran the ball 6 times for 13 yards. I mean, nothing super. Yeah, nothing. But, I mean, the Giants, overall, their running game wasn't too bad, okay? It was their passing game that was just weak. What did they average? I know. Let's see here. Points for, they only averaged 19 points a game. They gave up 22.9, so they gave up 23 points a game. So nothing good at all. Now, also, I mean, since Lawrence Taylor got injured, and also he was getting to the end of his career and all, and he would only wind up playing one more season. But the Giants as a team only had 25 sacks. They gave up 45. Which could be worse, but could be better. Certainly could be better. But the Giants as a team, they only had 25 sacks as a team. So, I mean, the defense was not phenomenal. They didn't get many sacks. Just, I mean, I said the quarterback play was what was really what really killed them. Obviously you'd like to see Lawrence Taylor get in there and play and all and everything, but also he was getting up there in age as well too. But I said the quarterback, the injuries, tough to win, especially when you have rookies in there, 2 rookies in there, and especially when all 4 of your quarterbacks have injury problems. So, but let's see. Let's just go over the Giants season real fast here. The Giants started off 0-2. They wound up losing the first game of the season at home to the 49ers, 31-14. Then they would lose. Of course, this is when, the Cowboys would just start reigning supreme over the Giants because the Cowboys, 92, 93, 95 were Super Bowl champions. So the Cowboys came to town in the second week of the season, and they beat the Giants 34-28. Third game, the Giants would finally get their first win. They would play the Chicago Bears in Chicago. They would win 27-14. Then the Giants would play the Raiders. They would go out in Los Angeles, play the Raiders, and they would lose 13-10. So now the Giants are 1-3. The Giants would play the Phoenix Cardinals at home the following week, and they would wind up winning 31-21. So now the Giants are 2-3. Now, by the way, that was week 6. They played their 5th game in week 6 because in week 4 they had a bye week. They had a very early bye week. Week 4 bye week. Then from there on, it was all playing games. So then the Giants played the Los Angeles Rams in Los Angeles, and they would lose 38-17. So now the Giants are 2-4. But the Giants would rebound and start heading toward that playoff push. Right? The Giants would beat the Seattle Seahawks in week 8. They would win 23-10 at home against the Seahawks, and they're 3-4. Then the Giants would go on the road and play the defending Super Bowl champion Washington Redskins. The Giants would win 24-7. So now the Giants are 4-4. And now after this week, after against the Redskins, the Giants would their offense would really start to suffer. Somewhere along the line, when they beat the Packers, the Giants only had 177 yards of total offense. The Giants had 9 first downs against the Packers, and they would still score 27 points. So the Giants won at home against the Green Bay Packers, the first time they ever faced off against Brett Favre. The Giants would win on Sunday, November 8th, 27-7, and now they're 5-4. But then after this is when their offense really started sputtering. They against the Denver Broncos, they would the following week on the road against the Denver Broncos, they would lose 27-13. So now the Giants are 5-5. Giants had 10 first downs, 159 yards of total offense. Once again, their offense just was not good. The following week, the Philadelphia Eagles would come to town, And once again, the Giants just could not beat the Eagles, and this was no exception. They lost 47-34. I think this was the Vi Sikahama game. I think that's when he was punching if he returned a punt for a touchdown. Let me see here. Yep, Vi Sikahama, an 87-yard punt return, put the Eagles up 40-20. And after he got into the end zone, right, he started punching the goalpost, the padding around the goalpost. He started getting a workout on it. So that was, and of course, this is in New York or New Jersey. So that's adding insult to injury. So the Giants, had got some yardage and all of that and everything. They moved the ball, but their defense let them down. So after the Giants lost that game, right, to the Eagles, I mean, once again, this is around the time the Giants just couldn't beat the Eagles. Had a hard time beating the Eagles. So after the Giants lost to the Eagles, they were 5-6. Then the Giants played the Cowboys in Dallas. And once again, the Dallas Cowboys would be the Super Bowl champions. So needless to say, they were a very good team. They beat the Giants 30-3. The Giants wound up with 12 first downs, 207 yards of offense. Absolutely pathetic. And they would lose 30-3, so now they're 5-7. The following week, they would go on. The Washington Redskins would come to town, the defending Super Bowl champion Washington Redskins, and they beat the Giants 28-10. So now the Giants are 5-8. In that game, the Giants had 10 first downs, 165 yards of offense. They had 60 yards passing in the game. Absolutely pathetic. Against the Denver Broncos, a few weeks earlier, when the Giants lost to the Broncos 27-13, the Giants had 39 yards passing. I mean, teams get 39 yards passing on a drive. I mean, the Giants had 39 yards passing for a whole game. All right, so then in week 15, for the Giants' 14th game of the season, the Giants went on the road, and they played the Phoenix Cardinals, and they would lose 19-0. They had 8 first downs, 131 yards of offense. They had 61 yards of passing, 70 yards rushing. Just pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Then the Giants would finally win their only game in this stretch here. They would beat the Kansas City Chiefs in week 16 to go to 6-9. They won 35-21. Somehow the Giants found offense. I mean, that's when Jeff Hostetler came back. They found some offense. They got 348 yards of offense and 22 first downs. So they pretty much, they whooped up on the Chiefs. But it was, once again, too little, too late. The final game of the season, they would play in Philadelphia against the Eagles, and guess what? They were lost. Shocking, I know. So they lost 20-10. In that game, they had 13 first downs. They had 235 yards of offense. Yeah, not going to get it done. Not going to get done. I mean, the defense was getting older. Lawrence Taylor was getting older. Carl Banks was getting older. A lot of the other guys were getting older, right? Didn't have a great head coach. Their quarterbacks were all banged up. And then of course it's insult to injury. You got to throw 2 rookie quarterbacks in there. So overall it was a very, very tough season for the Giants. Very, very tough season. So let's read what Wikipedia has to say about the 1992 NFL season. It says the 1992 NFL season was the 73rd season in the history of the National Football League. Due to the damage caused by Hurricane Andrew, the New England Patriots at Miami Dolphin game that was scheduled for September 6th at Joe Robbie Stadium was rescheduled to October 18th. Both teams originally had, oddly enough, both of those teams had that weekend off. That was both their bye weeks. This marked for the first time since the 1966 NFL season and the AFL season of 66 and 67 that there were byes in week 1. Odd. Very odd. The season ended with Super Bowl when the Cowboys defeated the Bills only 52-17 at the Rose Bowl. This would be the third of Bills' 4 consecutive Super Bowl losses. As of 2023, no other team has ever lost more than 2 Super Bowls in a row. Buffalo joined the Miami Dolphins of the early 70s as the second team to reach 3 straight Super Bowls. now, of course, since then, the New England Patriots of the late 2010s became the third. But the Dolphins wound up going to, what was that Super Bowl? Would be what? 6, 7, and 8. They lost Super Bowl 6 to the Dallas Cowboys, 24-3. They won Super Bowl 7, 14-7 over the Washington Redskins to finish their season 17-0. And then after the 73 season in Super Bowl 8, they would beat the Minnesota Vikings 24-7 in that Super Bowl. So the Dolphins went to 3 straight Super Bowls back then. But let's go over the divisions here. Let's go over the AFC, shall we? The AFC East. The Dolphins won. The Dolphins and the Bills were both tied with the records of 11-5. However, Miami finished ahead of the Buffalo in the AFC East based on better conference records. Miami was 9-3. The Bills were 7-5. So Miami and the Buffalo Bills in the AFC East were both tied 11-5, but Miami got the nod because of that better head-to-head in the conference record. In the AFC Central, the Steelers with Bill Cowher won with a record of 11-5. Houston Oilers were in second place with a record of 10-6. And then in the AFC West, the San Diego Chargers with a record of 11-5. And the Giants, the Chiefs got the other wild card. They were a record of 10-6. Okay. So, so the Giants wound up beating them. So the Giants actually beat a good team. So on the wild card, Buffalo beat Houston 41-38. Right. Of course, that was the Houston was up. Was it? What the heck were they up? 31-3, I think it was. Or let's see. Can we figure this out here? No. Hold on. Let's see here. That was that phenomenal playoff game. Let's see here. There we go. All right, so and Buffalo had that record comeback. What a game! What a game that was. That was a game of like 2 different halves. What were they down? 35. Oh, actually, they were down 35-3. Bubba McDowell's 59-yard interception return. Houston was up 35-3, and Buffalo came back and won 41-38. Absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right, so that was the first wild card game. The Bills won. The second one, the San Diego Chargers beat the Chiefs 17-0. So in the divisional round, Buffalo on the road in Three Rivers Stadium beat the Steelers 24-3, and Miami shut out the San Diego Chargers 31-0, setting up the championship game between the Bills and the Dolphins at Joe Robbie Stadium, and the Bills would win 28-10, sending the Bills to their 3rd consecutive Super Bowl. Okay. In the NFC, we had 3 teams out of the NFC East make the playoffs. Cowboys won with a record of 13-3. The Eagles were 11-5, and the Redskins were 9-7. So the Eagles and the Redskins moved on as wild card teams. In the NFC Central, the Minnesota Vikings won with a record of 11-5, and in the NFC West, the San Francisco 49ers with a record of 14-2 won their division, and the New Orleans Saints with a record of 12-4 were the other wild card team. So, all right, in the wild card in the Superdome, the Eagles would beat New Orleans 36-20. In Minnesota, the other wild card game, the Redskins would beat Minnesota 24-7. So now in the divisional round, Dallas and the Eagles played each other. Dallas would win 34-10. And then in the other divisional round, the San Francisco 49ers beat the Washington Redskins 20-13, setting up the championship game between the Cowboys and the 49ers. And this would be the first 3 consecutive, I believe it was, championship games. I believe at least I think there was at least 3 of them in a row between the 49ers and the Cowboys. And This one, the Cowboys won 30-20 at the Kansas Lake Park. The Cowboys beat the 49ers 30-20, sending the Cowboys to the Super Bowl against the Buffalo Bills. And it was not much of a Super Bowl. I mean, I'm not going to read all of this stuff and everything, but I mean, we'll go to some of the scoring. I mean, Buffalo actually scored first in the first quarter. So to go up 7-0. Right. Then the Cowboys tied it up with about a minute and a half to go. Jay Novacek caught a 23-yard touchdown pass from Troy Aikman to tie it up at 7. Then 15 seconds later, the Cowboys had a fumble recovery, and for 2 yards, I think Jim Kelly got sacked. I believe the ball popped out. I think it was, and Jimmy Jones wound up picking it up and running in for a touchdown. So now the Cowboys are up 14-7. In the second quarter, Steve Christie kicked a 21-yard field goal to make it 14-10. Very close games, very close. And I mean, if it wasn't for that fumble recovery, the Bills would be leading, right? But then the Cowboys would score. Let's see, Michael Irvin had 2 touchdown receptions, so they would score 2 touchdowns. Actually, I mean, they scored 2 touchdowns in the final 2 minutes of the first half. They scored with 1:54 to go, and 18 seconds later, Michael Irvin scored another touchdown pass. So it was like turnovers was what killed the 2 turnovers led directly to 14 points for the Cowboys. So I mean, the turnovers is what really killed the Bills in the first half. So it was 28-10 at halftime. Then Dallas kicked a field goal halfway through the third quarter, make it 31-10. Then Buffalo scored. Don Beebe had a 40-yard touchdown reception, to make it 31-17. So they crawled back in the game, but then that was all their scoring. Alvin Harper caught a 40. The Cowboys scored 3 touchdowns in the final quarter. Alvin Harper had a 45-yard touchdown reception from Aikman to make it 38-17. Emmitt Smith had a 10-yard touchdown run to make it 45-17. And then the Cowboys had a fumble recovery return for 9 yards by Ken Norton Jr. to make it 52-17. So, I mean, it wasn't, I mean, actually, Buffalo, what did they get? Buffalo had 22 first downs. The Cowboys only had 20. Buffalo had 362 net yards. The Cowboys had 408. But the problem was, let's see here. Excuse me. The Buffalo Bills threw 4 interceptions. Buffalo somehow fumbled the ball 8 times. They lost 5 fumbles. 5. They lost 5 fumbles. So they had 9 turnovers. The Cowboys had 2. 9 turnovers in the game. So, I mean, you don't have to, be a rocket scientist to figure out, that, the turnovers. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think that the Cowboys could have even had another, I think Leon Lett was picked. Oh, yeah. And this is in the fourth quarter. So the Cowboys even going to add another touchdown off of another turnover. One of the most memorable moments in the game after the Cowboys had built a 35-point lead, Buffalo quarterback Frank Reich lost a fumble while being sacked by Cowboys lineman Jim Jeffcoat. Dallas tackle Leon Lett picked up the ball with no one in front of him, appeared ready to score on a 64-yard touchdown run as Lett started to showboat, an absolute moron. Just before crossing the goal line, a hustling Buffalo wide receiver, Don Beebe, ran Lett down from behind and stripped Lett of the ball just before he crossed the goal line as the ball rolled out of the end zone for a touchback. What a moron. Absolute moron. Leon Lett would redeem himself when he sacked Reich to end Super Bowl and give the Cowboys their first championship since 1978. After the game, in otherwise dejected Buffalo locker room, Buffalo owner Ralph Wilson went straight to Beebe and thanked him for his hustle and perseverance, which is true. I mean, the game was pretty much all but over, but Don Beebe was out there running around, hustled his rear end off and saved 7 points. It wouldn't have saved the game, wouldn't have changed the outcome of it. But That's what you do when you're down. That's what you do when you're a pro. It doesn't matter what the score is. You give it your all. Unlike Leon, the moron Lett, who, shit was showboating and everything like that. Get the ball over the goal line, you moron. Then you can do whatever you want. Then you can dance the Macarena, strip naked, do whatever you want to do. But get the ball over the goal line, you moron. Score the points, and then you do what you want to do. I mean, just plain stupid, absolute stupid. But as I said, it wouldn't have mattered in the outcome anyway. I mean, the Cowboys were a very, very good team, but the Bills were a very good team too. It's just that when you have 9 turnovers in a Super Bowl, you're not super, and you don't deserve to win anything. And Buffalo Bills did not. So that pretty much wraps up the 1992 season. The 1992 / Ray Handley era season, right? So Ray Handley is gone after the season, and in 1993 we'll get a little breath of fresh air, right? Dan Reeves coming in, so he wouldn't have much success with the Giants. However, in 1993 they would have success. They would have a winning season. It was exciting right up till the end, right? They had a winning season, went to the playoffs, won a playoff game, all right? So 1993 was a pretty good season. So that wraps up the 1992 season. I said I'll be back again tomorrow with the 1993 season, which just happened to be the 69th season in the history of the New York Giants. I'll see you then.